Welcome back to the channel. It's Willie Bunks TV with your host Willie Bunks. So today we are react to a video, an interview that was done a couple years ago. So we are gonna react and we are gonna play the video and give away a reaction as we go along. So please like, share, and subscribe and help the channel to grow because we are putting the work in. Alright, people, you are one.
Honorable Paul Hellyer, former Minister of Defense of Canada, and he believes that life forms from space exist and are present on Earth. It's great to have you with us on our show. Why do you say that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying over our heads?
Well, because I know that they are. They've been, as a matter of fact, they've been visiting our planet for thousands of years. And one of the cases that would interest you most, if you give me 2 or 3 minutes to answer, is during the Cold War, 1961, there were about 50 UFOs in formation flying south from Russia to across Europe. And the Supreme Allied Commander was very concerned and about ready to press the panic button when they turned around and went back over the North Pole. So they decided to do an investigation, and they investigated for 3 years, and they decided that with absolute certainty that 4 different species at least, had been visiting this planet for thousands of years. So that's, we have a long history of UFOs, and of course there's been a lot more activity in the last few decades since we invented the atomic bomb, and they're very concerned about that and the fact that we might use it again. And because the whole cosmos is a unity, and it affects not just us but other people in the cosmos, they're very much afraid that we might be stupid enough to start using atomic weapons again, and this would be very bad for us and for them as well.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I pick this guy, because I feel like this interview, you know what I mean, there's a lot of important stuff. This lady asked some good questions, and I think this man do a good job on a public platform, on a mainstream media, where express them kind of stuff where the regular people not gonna really talk about. You understand me? So that's why we pick for react, and over the course of every Sunday when I push out some videos, we are going to kind of react to content like them to kind of give people an idea. You know what I mean? Say there's people in a certain government, you know what I mean, government agencies, and we work in a certain sectors where have interaction with some of these entities, and you have regular people we have experience with different extraterrestrial or different entity, non-human entity throughout the time. But as I say, if you personally never have experience now, you're going to think say some of them things they're not real. So that's why we are trying to kind of put people where we know say in a certain sector we have more information than the regular people, and they can come and express certain things. So that's why we are react to the video, because we feel like there's a whole lot of interesting things say in this content. Yeah, man.
So no serious scientist has ever publicly confirmed evidence of an encounter with extraterrestrials. Why would scientists not confirm the facts if they exist?
I'm afraid they must go out of their way not to find out. Because if they did, you know, even 10% of the amount of research I've done in the last 8 years, they would be as convinced as I am. I mean, they could do it even faster. Might take them a little longer when they didn't have a military background. But there are so many wonderful books that tell these stories, and they've been authenticated. The sightings have been authenticated by more than one witness, and also by radar. And they have landed in various places around the world, including Russia. There's a famous case there. I can't remember the name of the place, but it was widely reported at the time. A man wrote a book about it, and then the French bought the book rights so that it wouldn't be circulated around. There's just so much evidence. If anybody will take the time off to do a little bit of research and study. But people just are, you know, some people are interested and will take the time, and the others just say, oh, you know, it's just fantasy.
Yeah, so one of the reasons what causes lack of information is that most people busy with them every day. Like people go work, you know what I mean, come in, take care of their family, cook their food and prepare themselves for the next day. You see me I say, with all of the bills and stuff. So nobody not interested to figure out what go on with UFO or UAP, what they call it now. Or even if somebody have a non-human encounter, because a person will never have the experience and somebody come and say that, them automatically are gonna write it off because there's no major announcement on the mainstream network to say any of these things exist. So therefore, one not see it important figure even look into any of these things, but only the persons them were really curious and really want to understand the truth about them history and humans and we roll upon the planet, then you start looking into some of these things, because some of them entity are share information to people with their earth, and certain information has never died, it just went underground, and we did on one level now where certain things are resurfaced back. So that's why you like me know, if you just know say yo, me have to help if you put some of the information out there and things and try if you bring some of the receipt them and things like that. So we don't want to make a video too long, but you don't know, we have to drop in it.
But since I've been public on this subject, I get probably 3 or 4 emails a week from all over the world, from people who have actually witnessed sightings, and some of them who have actually been on the ships, and some of them who have actually been transported to another planet. And so this information is not, it is top secret in a way that the governments aren't talking about it. But if you listen to the whistleblowers and the people who have worked in the industry and who know what is going on, there is just a lot of information out there, and it doesn't take very long to get your hands on it.
But see, the problem is that some people who report UFO sightings and alien abductions have been shown to make things up and to make things up to be famous, to make money, or just for a prank. How do we tell fiction from a fact?
Well, you have to spend a lot of time trying to find, we used to say, separating the wheat from the chaff, and it takes a lot of effort. When I was minister, I got sighting reports, and when we checked them out, about 80%, about 8 out of 10, were not real. There were sights of Venus or plasma or a dozen other things, but there were 15 or 20% for which there was no explanation, and they were the genuine unidentified flying objects. These things go way back. One of the conferences I went to was in Las Vegas, was promoted by a chap who had written a book about crashes. And there were dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and many of them very, very well authenticated, so that it would be impossible to read all of that evidence and not to come to the conclusion that these vehicles were real.
Yeah, so one of the biggest thing is evidence, right? So there's lots of evidence out there, but it's just not in your face like that. Like one of the biggest UFO or UAP crash is Roswell, you know what I mean? And it's known about, it's written in different various books, but as I say, if you don't really care about the subject, you're not even going to read the book to see what kind of evidence was there and witness and stuff like that. So you kind of really have to have the curiosity to understand, say, we're not alone, and then religion now make it easier because everybody talk about this unseen God will come back or whatever, you get me? So it kind of really show up people. We just say, alright, God only make humans. You see me? But you can't make it, you have to gather information through. You can't just get one information and just write it off. You see me? Shelf it and gather as much information as you can, and you can see picture. Just like what the brother here say. You know what I mean? Me I look on this topic over a decade. Me I look into these phenomena, right? And we can see where there's a lot of information out there where people really not pay attention to. You see me? I say, but because I say me curious about certain stuff, and you know me, we start looking to certain things, and we can get to see the bigger picture, because it's like you have one puzzle and you put the thing them together. Then when you don't fit everything together, you go see the big picture, right? So as I say, we just have to do what we can do to help put the information and react to it. Yeah, people, just check out the full interview. As I say, the research, the former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer, yeah, in their Toronto, I talk about this on one of the major network there. So check out the full content, and as me say, a lot of people don't realize say them entity operate on a different dimension from where we operate on. So we're invisible to we, they're not really invisible, and just shift them frequency. So we just have to take the time out and gradually get the people them in understanding the nature, reality, or vibration really work, you know what I mean, or dimension work. You know what I mean? These things are not just terms that people throw there and just whatever. We have to take the time out to understand. And that is where we're going to give you a perspective and try to break down some of these things in some context where the regular man can understand. Alright, we now make it difficult to drag out. Go listen to the full content, full interview. Do some look up the guy Paul Hellyer, as I said, you know what I mean, go on and do multiple interview when we talk about these kind of subjects. Alright, so check out the content and remember to share, like and subscribe and things, so we'll put the work in. Alright people, yeah man.
Have you ever had your own encounter with aliens?
Not an encounter with aliens, no. I have seen a UFO about 120 miles north of Toronto over Lake Muskoka, where I have a cottage. And 2 years ago, last Canadian Thanksgiving, which is October, my wife decided she wanted to go out and look at the stars. So I'm not much of a night man, but I put on my cap and went out with her. And she looked into the eastern sky and said, "There's a star." And I turned around the other way and I said, "Oh, there's a much brighter one over here." And she looked and it was. And we watched it until our necks almost broke for about 20 minutes. And it was definitely a UFO, because it could change position in the sky by 3 or 4 degrees in 3 or 4 seconds. And I checked out, there were no satellites that could do that. The space station wasn't going by, and it isn't able to move that fast anyway. And there was no other explanation except that it was the real thing. And 2 days later, I went down on the dock, got a comfortable chair and watched it came back almost to the same spot and entertained me for as long as I could take it. And then I went back to the cottage. But it was very interesting, because it would drop down in the sky and then it would roar back up, and then it would shift across a few degrees and do a circle and come back at a speed, which, you know, just astronomical speeds. As you know, they travel very, very fast.
So does it?
Yeah, people, just check out the full interview. As me say, the research, the former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer, yeah, in their Toronto, I talk about this on one of the major network there. So check out the full content, and as me say, a lot of people don't realize say them entity operate on a different dimension from where we operate on. So we're invisible to we, they're not really invisible, and just shift them frequency. So we just have to take the time out and gradually get the people them in understanding the nature, reality, or vibration really work, you know what I mean, or dimension work. You know what I mean? These things are not just terms that people throw there and just whatever. We have to take the time out to understand. And that is where we're going to give you a perspective and try to break down some of these things in some context where the regular man can understand. Alright, we now make it difficult to drag out. Go listen to the full content, full interview. Do some look up the guy Paul Hellyer, as I said, you know what I mean, go on and do multiple interview when we talk about these kind of subjects. Alright, so check out the content and remember to share, like and subscribe and things, so we'll put the work in. Alright people, yeah man.